For me, that's what beauty is. It's knowing the deepest darkness of this place. And then through that courage, knowing the deepest joy that's possible. Walking this life on this mysterious, chaotic place that takes me constantly between them. I'm in touch with both aspects at all times, and some more than others. And despite having a spiritual practice, a yoga practice, a meditation practice, a creative practice, an activist practice, still being so capable of feeling the overwhelming horror that it is to be a human right now, the despair and the loneliness, and then feeling just the utter bliss of being here. Welcome to The Future is Beautiful, with me, your host, Amisha Ghadiali. On this show, we explore the weave between politics, spirituality, creativity, and sustainability. It's time for us to move beyond silos and into an integrated way of being. Every one of us has ideas and personal experiences to share that can lead us to a brighter future. This is the revolution. Despite the challenges we face as a global community or the pressures that we meet in our daily lives, when we stop and dare to dream, to ask ourselves the big questions, and to share what we are already doing, we create the future that we wish to wake up for. That future is beautiful. Hello, everyone. Thank you to all of you for being part of this journey throughout 2019. As we come to the close of the year and this decade, it felt right to take a pause. We have released 32 conversations this year, as well as 2 special episodes, created an online community called Presence Collective, and hosted monthly Patreon video calls. We have explored themes ranging from white supremacy to creative expression, to eco-grief, to sacred activism, to cyclical awareness, to regenerative design, to vibrational medicine, to new technologies, and so much more. We now have community listening in 160 countries around the world. Hello to all our friends in the UK, the USA, and then countries including Chad, Belize, Jamaica, Macedonia, Nigeria, Pakistan, Colombia, Bahrain, Greece, Brazil, Denmark, and Australia, and the list goes on and on. We really appreciate you, and we appreciate all of the reviews, the notes we get, and of course the patrons that donate to the show, because you really allow us to continue. And we're still in a position where we need more of you to show up for us and make that monthly donation, because you're learning something of value, something is happening for you through these conversations. And I know that so many of you express that. I would just really love for us to move into 2020 in a much more supported manner where there is that cycle present where you're listening and you're supporting us, and then we're able to spend more time and energy getting amazing guests, but also to feel supported in this work that we're doing. So if you're not already a patron and you do love this show, please go to our website, www.thefutureisbeautiful.co/community, and you can be a patron. It can be anything from £2 a month, right up into 200. And we really, really encourage you, if you want this show to continue through 2020 and into the 20s, please do make a contribution. It's been an amazing journey over the last 2 years, and I have to say I have loved doing it, but it's a little bit tiring, if I'm being honest, to fit in around everything else. And I also feel like I would like to have more resources and more support moving into 2020 for this project, and in fact, all of my projects. They're made with a huge amount of love and goodwill. We need more in order to really, really continue. If that doesn't happen, I'm considering going down to it being a monthly show in 2020, so it can still continue. But at the moment, we get around about enough patronage support to cover one episode a month being made and everyone being paid to make it. So that's definitely an idea. So let's see what we can drill up in terms of support, what we can rain down in terms of support for this project. It's really, really something that I know means a lot to me and to the team and to so many of you, and also to each of the guests that have been part of this. I feel like it's something different, something that doesn't exist anywhere else. And let's honor and protect that moving into this next decade. So I was thinking about some of the conversations that have particularly moved me this year, and the first names that came to mind were Jyoti, Arena, Will, Drew, Justine, Fat Lynn. And then actually as I started to mention them, I realized how much each conversation has opened up something inside of me. And I really hope inside of you as well. I thought that today what might be really nice is we're at this time of the solstice. So for the Northern Hemisphere, we're moving into the darkest time of the year, and those in the Southern Hemisphere moving into the lightest time of the year. And there's this feeling of reflection of, what has this year been for me, for you, for all of us collectively? What's this decade been collectively? I was reading something in The Guardian that was saying that the 2010s called it the age of perpetual crisis, how this decade disrupted everything but resolved nothing. And it speaks to how the next decade may be something similar, or even potentially worse, where our political systems and our environmental events and all kinds of things have an even deeper sense of chaos. As we move into times that are potentially more and more like that, we can really hold true to our practices. We can really hold true to spaces like this that provide solace and inspiration and grounded optimism and a new way of looking at things, and really encourage us to be more, and not necessarily be more, do more, be louder, but be more of who we are. Clear our conditioning, listen to our intuition, allow more of the unique beauty that is each one of us to shine, so that we can create more beauty in the world despite the circumstances or the chaos that we find ourselves in. And I think that's really the opportunity of this time, as there is more austerity or uncertainty or fear rising. Where do we find that courage within ourselves? Courage comes from the heart. The language of the word comes from the French, and it is this bravery of the heart. It's this acting out of the heart in the world. That's something that each one of us can do, no matter what circumstances that we find ourselves in. And often we find examples all through the world which show that people that often don't have so much in terms of riches and busyness are able to dig deeper into their courage in very, very, very challenging situations, create community and create support, and really find the value and the beauty of being alive, of being in our bodies, of being this unique expression of cosmic love and power that you are. I just want that invitation to be there so hugely for you as we enter into this decade, that together we use this space, we use the space of being part of this podcast community, and then many of you are joining Presence Collective, and I encourage more of you to do so as well, where we actually dive deeper into each of the themes that we explore in the podcast, but we do it in a way where we have practices or shifts that we can make in our lives, or different ways of thinking, and we have group calls and we discuss the complexity and we inspire each other and we hold each other to it. So some of the themes that we've explored already in Presence Collective are creating a meditation practice, but a meditation practice that you love. So not like I must meditate, but like I want my meditation space to be a refuge, a place that recharges me, a place where I get to know myself, a place where I find some stillness and some power and some deeper connection to what is below and what is above. And we've been exploring rituals for well-being, little tweaks and routines that you can bring into your life that allow you to create more of the joy and the freedom and the liberation and the love and the beauty that you desire. We've looked at how you can transform eco-anxiety into eco-grief and then turn that into the activism and the love that we need to be earth protectors at this time. And we've also been exploring living with the cycles of life, how to be aware of our natural cycles, our sleep cycles, sun cycles, lunar cycles, menstrual cycles, the stage of life that we're in, so that, we can live riding these cycles, surfing these cycles rather than being ridden by them, flung around by them. And next year, I think we'll start in January looking at visioning for the future of how do we create a beautiful future and finding our own personal visions as well as sharing them and creating collective visions. It's a really, really special space that we've created, and it's open to anyone from all over the world to join. And it starts at £25 a month. And really, I'm sharing the most interesting and the most effective practices and tools that I've learned over my journey, which has been a very deep exploration and included many different trainings and fellowships and time with mystics, as well as practical time working in different areas of politics, of sustainability, of the world of tech, and kind of bring all of that into a way that is very practical and alive, is really about, living a creative, connected, and courageous life, which I think is the most sacred invitation that we have. That, of course, there's going to be pain and growth and grief and disappointment and a lot of things not unfolding exactly as we would like to control them. But how do we find our creativity and our connection and our courage even then, even in those circumstances? And Presence Collective can be done in tandem with one-to-one sessions with me, where we look at subconscious patterns and we really clear some of the patterns that are ruling your life. We form these patterns in the third trimester of when we're in the womb until the age of 7. And then unless we bring a lot of awareness and diligence and deep care, we just keep living them out. And we know we can do more than that. And so the one-to-one work that I do, either through Presence Mentoring, where we go on a 6-month journey, or through just one-off sessions, can really clear a lot and then open up new pathways. And it's really very special work. So I wanted to extend that invitation, as most of the time I'm in this space, seeing what we can learn from our amazing guests. I just wanted you to know that you're so invited to spend more time with me in 2020, and that I would really love and enjoy that. As we talk about courage and how do we cultivate courage, I love to go to the mythology, and the mythology of India, the Hindu mythology, is often the mythology that lights me up. Those of you that have done workshops or come on retreats with me will know that I often share the tales of Hanuman or the goddess Lakshmi or Saraswati or Shiva, and that we then often embody through the yoga asana, the qualities and the myth. But today I want to share a short version of the myth of the goddess Durga, because for me, she represents what we need right now: courage, dedication to our practices, and the power of love. And, she is the fortress. She is strength. She is, to me, the activist, the warrior, but she's not reactive. And I think that that's one of the greatest gifts that we can have going into 2020. How can we not be reactive? To not react to a politician or a media or a social media post, or to not react when our loved ones say things or do things that hurt us. To be able to take a step back and really feel into, how do I want to respond to this? Like, how can I respond to this in the way that is most in alignment with my truth, with who I know I am, with who I came here to be? And this is a short version of this myth. It goes something like this. Happening a long, long time ago in ancient India, and also right now inside each one of your hearts, there was a yogi, and his name was Mahisha. Now, this yogi was very dedicated to his practices. He got up every day and he showed up with diligence and focus. He worked hard with dedication. He was attaining greatness through his focus and his dedication. And he knew that there is a spiritual law that when you show up and you do your practices, that it doesn't even matter what your motivation is, that you will be awarded a boon being spiritual gifts, being, superpowers, if you like. The thing about Mahisha is that he was not there dedicating his practices to the love and the awakening of all beings. He was not dedicating his practices to the love and awakening of himself, but he was dedicating his practices to his love of power. And he was using these practices, kind of like hacks, in order to allow himself to be superhuman, to be limitless, and therefore to colonize, to take what he can and to overpower what he can. And the gods were watching this, and they saw him and they thought, okay, well, this one's going to be interesting because we have to give him his boon. We can't discriminate against his motivations. They go to him and they say, okay, we've been watching you. What is it that you would like? And he said, oh, well, that's easy. Of course, I would like to be indestructible to all beings. And so the gods were like, okay, this is going to be a wild ride, but who are we to stop this, And so the gods say, well, yes, of course, Mahisha, if that's what you wish, you will be indestructible to all beings, except you have to have a weakness. So is there one type of being that you would like to be weak to, or that you'll be happy to be weak to? And he said, oh, yes, well, that's very easy. I will pick women because, women are no threat or danger to me. And so the gods are like, okay, as you will. And they grant him his boon. And then, of course, he goes on to take over the entire kingdom. He gets overcome with his love of power. He can shapeshift. He has all these gifts now, these magical powers. He's superhuman. And he enslaves everyone. He colonizes everything. He gets all of the men into his army. The world falls into complete darkness. The sun stops shining. The flowers stop growing. And everyone becomes part of his army and his enslaved kingdom. And he is there just tripping on the power. And the gods are watching. And they're wondering how they can intervene. But they're men. We're talking here about Shiva, Krishna, Brahma, and some of the other gods that pop up in these myths. And they get together when things are going wrong, and they work out how they're going to save the world from the demons. And the gods, they stand around and they put all of their energy, they stand in a circle and they put their energy into the center of the circle. with the power of their third eyes, they're like looking into the circle, and all of the other gods and goddesses that are around will come together in the circle too. They begin to summon this feminine force that they need to go into this battle. In the circle rises Durga, and Durga is riding a lion, and she is lustrous and powerful, and she's just oozing this confidence and this power, but it's kind of understated as well. She's been watching, and she's always there, but she doesn't come out unless you invite her. As they've now summoned her, she says, "How can I help?" They explain the situation, and they say to her, "Please, can you go and slay this demon? This demon's got out of control." And she says, "Of course." And she opens up her hands, and the gods throw their weapons to her, and she catches them all. And as they give her their weapons, they're giving her their power. And she accepts it gracefully, knowing that she already has those powers anyway. But she takes the weapons, and she's like, "Yeah, cool." She's riding on her lion, and she represents everything that is the divine feminine: the earth, the ocean, the fire, the sky. She's all of it. And she leaves on the lion, and she goes to a cave. And everyone's watching the gods in the sky, and they're like, "Where is she going? She's going the wrong way. The castle's over there." But she knows that there's such a thing as right timing, that we don't have to rush into every battle. If we're given some kind of mission in this life, we don't have to go straight to it. We can first go and fill ourselves up. We can wait for the right moment. We can cultivate our own power. And so she's there in this cave, and she's doing her yoga. She's chanting her mantras. She's there in devotion to her beloved, to the divine masculine, to Shiva. And she is practicing for what seems like hundreds of years. And what happens is this light begins to shine. The sun starts to shine to the cave, and flowers start growing outside of the cave. And Mahisha sees this speck of light from a distance, and he says, "Who dares shine light in my kingdom?" And so he sends various soldiers out to go and find out what's going on there and to kill it, whatever it is. And what happens is, as each of these soldiers approach, they see her and they're captivated by her power. They don't fully understand what it is, but they understand it's Ma, it's the divine mother. It is creation. It is everything that we've come from and everything that we dissolve into. Each of the soldiers that goes to slay her cannot, and they come back to the kingdom. And of course, they get beheaded for not being able to take care of this. Eventually, Mahisha himself gets curious, and he says, "What is going on over in that cave?" He shapeshifts into an old man, and he goes to the cave. And in the cave, he meets her, and he's like taken by her as well. And he thinks that she is fabulous. And he says, "I feel like maybe you would be very welcome if you went to the castle and went to meet the king." And Durga says, "Yes, I might do that." When she feels like it's the right time, she goes into the castle, and she appears there on her lion, and Mahisha sees her, and he already fell in love with her when he saw her in the cave. And he says, "Durga, I think you're incredible. I invite you to be my wife." And she says, "Well, that's very flattering, but that's not why I'm here. And, you're not really my type. You're a little bit out of your own integrity and tripping on power, and I tend to go for a different kind of guy." And he says, "Well, if I can't marry you, if I can't have you, then I will slay you." And so the battle commences, and it turns into this 9-night battle, which is known as Navaratri and is celebrated in India and in Hindu culture twice a year. And this epic battle is this shape-shifting, and the whole army is there, and she slays the army. And at one point, all of these goddesses start to fly out of her third eye. There's a moment where there are these twin demons. To fight the twin demons, Kali comes out of her third eye, who is, the goddess that has her tongue hanging out, and she's fierce and she's wild and she's like, ah. Kali is the one that we call on when we want to slay our internal demons or slay any of our demons. And, often our external demons are a reflection of what is inside. This battle commences, and at one point it kind of comes down to all of the armies have been slain, and it comes down to Mahisha and Durga, and he gets very upset that she's brought all of these other goddesses out because, it's meant to just be the two of them. And she says, well, we are all connected. We are all the same. But she pulls all the goddesses back into her, and it's just the two of them. And then they have this epic shape-shifting battle. The thing is that Durga knows that at any point during this battle, she could slay Mahisha. But she also knows that what is important is not the result, but the path of action and understanding. That there is this karmic law that if he dies hungry for power, that he will be born again hungry for power, and this same karma will come back into the world. And so she's there to really finish it properly. And for her, it's not about winning. It's not about rushing in. It's about showing up and doing the job as clearly and as much in her alignment and her devotion and her courage. Have it be fired up with the power of love. And so they're shape-shifting and they're fighting, and then it gets to this moment where she puts her foot on his neck and he looks at her. And finally, it happens. As he looks into her eyes, he sees the truth. He sees the beauty that she is. And he recognizes that essence of creation, of the divine feminine, of that thing that he comes from, that he is. And he realizes what he's done. And as she clocks this happening through his eyes, she takes out a dagger and she ends it. And then, of course, peace, love, harmony is restored until the next time, because there's always a next time. And so we're always being asked to live with more courage, to show up again and again and again, to show up for ourselves, to show up for the people that we love, to show up for our communities, our societies, to find ways to inspire, to find ways to make beauty, to be beauty, to live beauty. And to me, this is part of what sacred activism is. How do we have the courage to keep showing up and to keep learning our lessons gracefully? Because when we listen to a myth, how many of you listening to that story choose Durga? You're Durga, right, in this story. But you're also Mahisha in this story. We all have that greed. We see it. It's all over our world right now. It's consumer culture. It's the fear that there's not enough, that we're not enough. All of us have that in some quantity. And if we feed it, it can grow. But if we feed the part of us that is like Durga, or the part of us that is like Kali, we find our courage and our strength and our devotion. We choose the power of love over a love of power. Then the future really could be beautiful, right? That no matter what's happening, no matter what we can't control, no matter that we can't get to everything, that every issue is not something that we can solve, we can find the part of it that is the most true to who we are, to our soul, to why we're here, to why we are made up of what we're made up of, to why we have the family that we have, to why we have the color skin that we have, to why we live in the part of the world that we live in, to why we've chosen a certain kind of work or that work has chosen us, to why we're interested in certain things. And we live that fully. So as we move into 2020, I asked this question: what would living with more courage feel like? How would that transform your relationship to yourself, your relationship to others, and ultimately your relationship to the earth, to all of nature, to all of life? Thank you for taking this time with me, really for being part of this community, because it really is something to create something like this podcast. It was an idea for such a long time, and then I found the courage to do it, to share of myself and to open up that space with others, so that we could have information and inspiration, solace and a refuge, ways to inspire us to be who we are, to free ourselves from all the limitations that we can. And I really appreciate that each one of you makes this happen, makes this possible, and that there's like a field, like an energy around this. And you're all part of it and you all create it. I really, really do adore getting to know you all. And there are now many people in my life that have come through the podcast as guests or as listeners that have become friends. I open that invitation to all of you. There are 2 ways that you can get really, really involved. And there's a third way, which is just to write in or send a voice note or share of yourself. I'm always open to listening. But if you want to join the Patreon community, so we have now around 110 patrons around the world. Those donations come to about £350 a month, which is about how much it costs to make one episode. And not really as well. Really, it costs more like £1,000 to make an episode if we're able to pay everyone properly what they would normally be paid to work on a show like this. Also to have that role that we don't have, which is somebody that is able to share the episodes further and wider around the world. Being a patron is wonderful. You're part of a WhatsApp group where everyone shares and patrons meet up with each other and support each other on their projects. We talk about things that people haven't fully understood that have been on the show, or deeper aspects of it. Sometimes we share kind of behind the scenes around like what's happened around an interview, or I share more about my own personal journey with that interview or with the content of that interview or with the person from the interview, and we all learn and grow together. So there's the WhatsApp group, and then there's also these monthly video calls that we do. We don't record them, and it's always a different group of people that show up every time. They always have a very different theme, but they're very, very beautiful, heart-centered spaces. And then, of course, Presence Collective, which I created this year really partly to support this podcast and this exploration of what it means to live a life of courage, of creativity, of connection. In a way, Presence Collective is replacing, at least for now, the workshops and retreats that I've been doing for a number of years now. It has that feel to it. So we're able to come together in a way where we learn together and we share. It's really accessible and affordable, whereas a lot of retreats and workshops really do cut out a lot of people that could be part of them because they have to be so expensive. What I'm doing with Present Collective is really making something that's very, very good, that I could be charging $1,500 a year for and doing it as like a exclusive school. But I instead am doing it in this way where it's a membership. You can come for a month or for a year or for however long you want, and everyone's welcome and we explore together. Yeah, I really invite you to come and take part. Also, as a little gift to mark the end of this year, I'm sharing with you a meditation, which I've called a Cultivating Presence practice. And it's a meditation that you can do each day. And it's a 22-minute meditation. It's a meditation that can be part of your daily practice if you like. And you can also find it on the app Insight Timer if you want to go back to it again and again. It's easier to access it that way than through the podcast. If you want to know more about the subtle cues, the mudras, the how to sit comfortably, what to do with your thoughts, all of that aspect of meditation, we cover that in the meditation course, which is included in Presence Collective, but you can also get it separately if that's the only bit that you're wanting to focus on. For 2020, I'm going to be giving away to the first 10 people that join on an annual subscription between now and the new year, can get to know each other better and kind of open up that way of working. So it will either be a half price 1 hour session or it will be a complimentary half an hour session. I hope that that's a really beautiful invitation for you. And also, if you're giving gifts over the holidays, maybe you can give the gift of Presence Collective to somebody. Thank you again for everything. And I hope that this meditation is something that's useful and supportive to you and can be something of a refuge. I hope that you get a lot of rest so that we can rise into this next decade with courage. Thank you for spending your precious time with us. As always, you can find links to everything we mention in this episode, download our book, and discover so much more over on the blog. We don't believe in selling you things you don't need through this podcast, and so it's made possible with you, our community. If you loved this and would like to fund our show with a monthly donation or join our online group to connect with other listeners, please visit www.thefutureisbeautiful.co and click on Community and Support. Please also share with friends, hit subscribe, and leave us a review so we can grow. Those gold stars really help others find us, so these ideas can spread. Here is to us, creating a beautiful future together. The Future is Beautiful is made by an all-female team working voluntarily or on reduced rates until our listeners' support grows. If you have been moved by anything you heard here, please donate the equivalent of buying us a drink. All donations make a huge difference to us and will allow us to keep doing this and remain advertising free. Until next time, I leave you with this question: how will you create beauty in the world? Find a nice, comfortable seat. So if you're sitting on the floor, on cushions, or on your bed, or on a chair, just make sure that your spine is nice and tall. We're going to take Bhumi Sparsha Mudra. So place your left hand on your heart and your right hand down on the earth beside you. And we take these first few breaths just connecting to the space that we're in, connecting to the earth, to the land, to the room, the space that we find ourselves in, and then connecting into our hearts to how we feel right now. To how it feels to be who we are here in our bodies, here in this space. Now bring your hands into Anjali Mudra, which is prayer position in front of your heart, leaving a little bit of space between your palms. And here, just in that space between your palms, placing whatever is present for you right now. Maybe you have a question. Maybe you have some kind of intention. Or maybe there's just an open invitation there. If you like, you can join me as we chant 3 very sweet Oms. Take a big breath in. Exhale, just release completely. Inhale. Release. Inhale. Release. Inhale for the arms. Now bring your hands into Gyan Mudra, bringing your thumbs and your index fingers together, and place either the back of your hands or your palms onto your knees. And bring your attention to your breath. As you inhale, allowing your whole belly and torso to fill with air, slowly, gently, sweetly. Slow exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Focusing on your breath in your own time, allowing it to be long, deep, sweet. And now, with this breath remaining slow and deep, bring your attention to the space between and above your eyes, your third eye. And so you're looking out into this lens, this space where we can strengthen and open our intuition, where we can allow ourselves to see and perceive more of what's really here. And if you notice any sounds, just allowing them to be there. Allowing your thoughts to be there too. Bringing your energy and your attention back to your breath. Looking out through your third eye. And if you wish to say a mantra internally, you can say "so hum" or "I am." So hum.
Bringing your awareness back to your breath. Notice your face and your jaw become tense. And if it has, just taking a breath, letting everything relax again. And bringing your awareness back out your third eye. Now bring your awareness to your heart. And if it feels good, you can place your left hand over your heart, your right hand over your left. Bring your hands into Anjali Mudra. Again with this space between your palms. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, release completely. Inhale, release. Inhale, release. Bring your awareness back into your body, back into the room that you're sitting in. The place in the world where you find yourself. And we'll chant one sweet Om to close. Inhale. And if you wish, you can take a little bow, just out of respect for this practice and for taking this time to connect to yourself. Respect to your higher wisdom, your higher knowing. And then very gently and softly open your eyes.